Human rights are not drama, they are not politics, they are not discourse, they are not debate or opinions. They are irrefutable rights to exist, be safe, and thrive. Okay, so welcome to part 3 of my series on fandom, conflict, and resolution. Since I made the first 2, some pretty major stuff has happened. Even though I intended this to be a more impartial discussion of how the structure of discourse doesn't really change despite any given argument, I was definitely being far too soft on things that should never be up for debate. I don't care how good someone's fursuit is. If they are racist, if they're transphobic, homophobic, abusive, their suit is worthless and they are a detriment to the community. End of discussion. You can't just opinion your way out of denying someone else's existence. What are you trying to debate anyway? That racism is good? That trans people shouldn't exist? Because that's what you sound like when you put yourself in the way of some bigoted fursuiter or artist, that your right to enjoy content is more important than someone else's right to exist. These last few weeks have seen a lot of disgusting and contentious behaviours come to light, and some prominent furs have been cut off or shut down for being racist directly in response to Black Lives Matter protests. And sadly, there are plenty of furs more worried about cancel culture than they are about why people were being so racist in the first place and how they got to be so unshakingly popular while holding such awful, hateful views. Human rights are not drama, they are not politics, they are not discourse, they are not debate or opinions. They are irrefutable rights to exist, be safe, and thrive. And right now, they are the realities of overflowing pain and injustice brought into place by a broken, prejudiced system. Now let me tell you, finding out these problems exist is a hell of a lot less damaging to you than to those who have had to live it for decades, generations even. So don't ever start unwinding about that. If you even consider whether someone has a right to be racist, hurtful, abusive, predatory, you immediately show the world what a sheltered, privileged life you have. Or, if not, how brainwashed you are into protecting awful, undeserving idols as long as you get what you want out of it. It's not an SJW thing to call people out, it's an issue of respect, accountability, and safety. People with big platforms just convince you that criticism is bad because they have more skeletons in their closet than the Black Pearl and are desperate to protect themselves over the people they've hurt. The fandom is way more than a few select idols. It is thousands of individuals, and allowing these pinnacled or even just notorious abusers and racists to run rampant makes you look just as bad as them, whether you actively defend them or just let them do whatever they want and pretend it's in the name of free speech. But I guess you may find yourself at a genuine crossroads for some reason, like you're not sure if that person everyone is telling you to unfollow is really worth taking out of your feed because you really desperately like their padded fursuit arse cheeks or whatever. And sometimes the issues aren't so clear-cut, like you don't know whether to believe the 17 pages of Telegram logs about this YouTuber being an exploitative groomer. So, if your favourite meme stealer, or questionably aged porn artist, or lump of foam with bedroom eyes has been outed as a virulent racist, here's some stuff to bear in mind. The fandom will still exist. It has for years, even when it was much smaller and divisions ran much deeper and social media didn't even exist as it does today. Putting creators on a pedestal where they can do no wrong isn't sensible, helpful, or healthy. We, as a whole, and you, as an individual, need to recognize that. If you're fed up of furries being misconceived as sexual predators or femboys as being racist, then don't apologize for ones who actually are. Or don't protect ones who encourage those behaviors because you're undermining your own reputation and that of the community overall. There are many diverse creators around. Losing respect for or unfollowing someone that you held previous appreciation for won't stop new, better content from being created. In fact, you'll help the fandom grow by finding these new voices. You can be a change that helps the fandom flourish so that everyone really can have a place here, except bigots. Consider yourself an ambassador to the better parts of the fandom and not to the people that you have to continually make excuses for. The biggest influencers are not necessarily the ones of greatest value. The greatest change comes from those who are pushing boundaries, not ones who sit atop a platform of clout and make non-committal remarks to appease both sides. If you want the fandom to do and be better, look for the people who are already trying to do that. Or do it yourself. Sorry, I know that's a lot of work. It's worth it. Find your own value outside of your appreciation for other people, and don't caught up in the need to be big. You'll find a longer lasting acceptance from authenticity than you will from popularity. If you get popular from being authentic, then awesome, you've got it. But focus on honesty first, always. Honesty and compassion, those two things. And connected to this, don't see others as competition or stepping stones. Social climbing, trying to use figureheads as a place to make your own popularity is a very fast way to some nasty toxic habits, and it will only create bad spaces for you. Another really important thing to bear in mind is that things change. From individuals to the world at large, things always change. Whether you want to be part of that or not, it is absolutely inescapable. If you want to be involved in the fandom instead of complaining about how awful it is, then you need to take time to listen and consider changing with it. If the change is too much, then maybe it's just not the place for you anymore. You can take a break if you need it, if things are getting too much. But it's not the end of the world if the fandom isn't for you, and if you're racist, it was never for you in the first place. One negative experience with, say, a popular fursuiter that you adored doesn't erase all the positive experiences you have with other people. Just because they're not as prominent or as important doesn't mean that they are less valuable to you and shaping your experience and the community around you. Ground yourself in your passions and in good people. More people talking about a problem doesn't mean that it didn't already exist. These are not new issues. You're just now noticing the extent of it. And that means that you need to pay it consideration, because you hearing about it for the first time, it's already been going on. It's already been causing problems. It's already been having this debate. But the wave of it has just hit you, and that means that it is getting bigger and it needs to be addressed, and you can help that. It'll probably involve having to face up to some embarrassing truths and a lot of uncomfortable revelations about probably everything you know to an extent. But you and the people around you are going to be so much better for confronting something with honesty instead of ignoring it and having to constantly deny what is going on around you. As much as you are representing yourself as an entity and as part of the fandom, you are also representing the subgroup of the fandom in question, whether it's, baby furs, vor enthusiasts, fursuiters, YouTubers. You are acting as a representative of those every time you enter yourself into a space. Who or what you defend and what you say and how you say it is going to reflect not only on you but also on your peers. That's your responsibility. If people break away from you for who you're defending, and that hurts you, you may want to consider what part of you they're turning away from and do a little bit of reevaluation. And kind of connected to that, just because you love someone or you love their work or it makes you happy doesn't mean that that person isn't capable of doing bad things. It's a horrible thing to come to terms with. There's not an awful lot you can do about it, and I'm sorry. But it is an unfortunate truth that people are capable of both good and bad things. They can be capable of superficial things, and they can be capable of very meaningful negative things as well. If someone is genuinely hurting someone else or is presenting very hateful views which do actual harm in the real world, but you still choose to side with them anyway, all that comes after that, all those consequences of you siding with them, that's your responsibility. If you want to say fine and shut out the fandom that says racism is bad, you can enjoy the rest of it, whatever's left of it, but you can't blame the rest of the fandom for that. That's your choice. That's your responsibility. If you're still having problems working out all this, working out who you should be supporting, listen to people. Read. The only way you're going to learn about new things is not by listening to your voice or putting your voice out there, it is to listen to other people. Recognize when they're upset and just take time to understand and look deeper into things outside of what you've always known. Dismissing someone's concerns as stupid or performative without acknowledging the truth and their feelings is as damaging as problematic content itself, and that creates even deeper resentment in those who have been hurt by it. Acknowledging that someone may have incredibly valid reasons for being hurt is the very least you can do to make your communication more constructive. And changing your mind about something doesn't make you weak. Adaptability is an advantage. Knowledge is strength, and communication is a connection to each other. We find new information every day, and we have to use that to do better. You're going to find out more information about individuals, about community, about the world. It's okay to change your mind. It's not shameful, and actually, it's a pretty amazing thing. There's tons of stuff I don't know about. There's stuff I still don't know about, and I may never know about, but I'm never going to stop listening and learning and trying to be the best that I can be for me and for all those around me and the people who put faith in me. Listening and learning is amazing. Why would you want to sit in a world which you think, no, I know everything, that's it, I'm done, that's it, No 100%'s this game, but do your best, okay? So if you do find yourself in a space, whether it's a Telegram group or a Discord group or just in a circle of friends that you don't feel comfortable in, say they're expressing hate or using things or just making a space very uncomfortable for you, don't force yourself to stay. Especially if, there's racism going around, transphobia going around. If those around you are forcing you to appreciate or do something that you have doubts about it, they're not doing it for you. They're doing it for them. So be honest with yourself and take a step away from them. Just because someone is a furry doesn't mean that they're compatible with you or necessarily that they want to keep you safe. Be very careful of people who may try to take advantage of you or just want you. Whether it's a collector mentality or whether it's just they want you to believe what they believe. Be very, very careful of where people may be leading you if you're in a space that you are not comfortable with. You have agency at all times to say, no, I'm good, I'm out, I want to be over here. I know the threat of being cut off from people that you're familiar with, especially if you're very new to the fandom, can be very scary, but please trust that there can be a new place for you, and ask for help if you need it. The fandom is full of wonderful, helpful people, some of whom have been part of these horrible groups before and have changed and seen that there are better spaces, nicer spaces. It's great to be part of that story of helping people change and accept who they are. And despite the slippery slope argument that critics peddle, or I guess anti-critics if you want to call it that, getting rid of abuse or an abusive people doesn't purge the internet of your furry porn. Good people can be, and absolutely are, kinky. We're not going to turn into a fandom of puritanical crusaders because we don't want racists here. There are plenty of bara dads and Twinkie softness, gorgeous lesbians, impossible breasts, guro, candy gore, inflation, anything else that you want to wave your favorite Nick Wilde dildo at. It's all still going to be there. Sex and sexual expression is awesome, but it has to be awesome for everyone involved, not just you. When it comes to apologies, there are very specific things to remember. An instant apology is not always a sign of penitence. Real apologies have to mean sincere changes in action and behavior and have to be shown, not just said, and they need to be specific to the acts that they have done. I've mentioned at least once that I'm sorry if you were offended is not an apology. It has to acknowledge the genuine hurt that has been done. You have to say, I'm sorry that I hurt you. I'm sorry I said this. It's okay to say I was ignorant. It's also okay to say I was a horrible turd burglar, But it has to be genuine, it has to be sincere, and nobody has to accept that apology immediately. It can be acknowledged if it's genuinely given, but it does not have to be confirmed by anyone until it's proven to be sincere. Following on from that, let's say that someone does apologize and you want to support them in that. It is not your place to accept an apology on someone else's behalf. If you're not affected by it, it's not your place. You're not the one that gets to absolve the abuser of guilt, nor pass scorn onto the victim for not accepting something that they're not ready for. Congratulating someone for an apology is kind of a weird dynamic because, yes, it's good, but you're also praising something that hasn't really shown any real progress yet. An apology is a statement, it's not a change. It's a commitment to change, but it can be very invalidating to the people that have been hurt by it if the person who apologizes gets more attention than the person who was hurt. And it's especially bad if you immediately jump into someone's replies to say, no, don't apologize, you're good, it's fine. That's dismissing everything that's happened. You're just right back to square one when you do that. You're telling them they shouldn't have apologized, that they shouldn't change, and that the victim or the call out was meaningless. And you're just destroying everything when you do that. So don't ever tell someone that they shouldn't apologize when they have demonstratively done something, and especially if they're trying to make up for it, because you're also denying them the first step in their process to change. And it just messes up a dynamic for everyone when very popular people who have been called out for being racist or abusive or bigoted or grooming or whatever, when you jump in and say, no, don't apologize, it's fine, you're turning it into a popularity game as opposed to a game of what actually happened. And yeah, sure, we're not judge and jury and execution and everything like that, but the thing is, if you want someone to be as good as you believe them to be, let them apologize and grow and change, and don't tell them that they were wrong for doing that. And in the end, some things are going to be beyond forgiveness. Some things just aren't going to be acceptable. Accepting an apology and forgiveness, it's not inevitable, it's not mandatory. Both you as a witness and they as the source of hurt need to accept that sometimes things are never going to be the way they are, or they're never going to be the way they were. Don't chase around after people one way or another trying to levy closure for your own convenience. So I guess at this point, you're probably wondering, does this mean I have to speak out against things? Well, it's your decision, but I can promise you'll be getting side-eye from a lot of furries for not even saying the bare minimum of support for things like Black Lives Matter or other anti-racist or anti-bigotry movements going on. You don't have to become a full-time commentator, but where right now people are looking for those who support them or aren't racist, the absolute least you can do is say that racism is bad. That's not controversial. And if you're having that much of a debate over whether to say even that, then either you or the people around you are in pretty urgent need of reevaluation. Any position where you can ignore someone else's pain to enjoy what you want is a privilege. No matter how much you protest it, it is. Full stop. Choosing to support people who refuse to acknowledge their transgressions rewards them from continuing, and believe it or not, repeatedly ignoring toxic problems like rape or transphobia or child animal abuse or general bigotry makes people more upset and more likely to be even more intensively reactive when it comes round in future, because it hasn't changed yet. The less it changes, the worse the reaction is going to be. And with particular note to grooming accusations, I've mentioned this before, I think, certainly on Twitter, but I don't know if I've mentioned it on here. When I was active on Tumblr, I took part in a furries thesis project where they were identifying psychological trends within the community, within the furry specifically. It was a pretty deep and thorough evaluation, which we were able to give free-form responses about what shaped our experiences in joining and what we gained from it now, what our personas mean to us and stuff like that. The final session was this really big Skype chat where we talked openly about our emotional foundations and advents of bullying and abuse that may have shaped us. And over half the group had suffered some form of sexual abuse in youth. More than 50%. Now that may not be indicative of furry as a whole, but even so, if you don't see why the fandom has such an issue with this, then lucky you, I guess you probably weren't in that percentage, but also you have no right to tell people what they have not been hurt by. or what they should not be hurt by. The better thing to do is to treat them with decency and understanding. Sorry that you might now feel guilty whacking off to your favourite underage character. Oh, sorry, I mean canonically 4,000 years old, just stuck in the body of a schoolboy. But that speaks volumes about how you objectify the subject of the art and what you think of your peers. If you find content to be more important than the people behind it, or place your comfort in ignoring drama over the safety of the people who are living through it, then don't be surprised if nobody wants to stick around you. The bottom line is, if you recognize the significance of having your own persona in art as increasing its importance to you, you can then recognize the implications of offensive drawings and how it hurts or disgusts others. Whether it's racist stereotyping, cultural appropriation, minor abuse, anything like that, or how making painfully ancient, racist, transphobic, or gender identity jokes is crass and insulting, even if it's not directed at anyone specific. Just as you find your identity in content you enjoy, others may do so in a very different, darker way. So always, always be mindful. Anyway, I'm about done for now, which I'm sure some of you will be pleased with. The upshot of all this should be, enjoy the fandom and your part in it, but don't hold it as sacrosanct. Furry is fallible, its creators and fans infinitely more so. We can be capable of amazing things. We have an incredible community full of really amazing, diverse and creative identities. The sooner we can recognize that and help each other patch up where we fall down or where others push us down, the better we all become. Anyway, Black Lives Matter. Thanks for listening.